The main event for UFC San Antonio this weekend is one of the most pivotal matchups in the UFC's bantamweight division to date. You have a potential number 1 contender fight between the number 3 ranked Marlon Vera, coming off of wins over the likes of Rob Font and the former bantamweight champion in Dominic the Dominator Cruz, where he won that fight via a head kick knockout, being the only man aside from Henry Cejudo to finish Dominic Cruz. But this was the only decisive finish for the Dominator in his career, and it came at the hands of Cheeto. And he's going to be taking on the number 5 ranked former interim title challenger in the dynamic, creative, and elusive Cory the Sandman Sandhagen. Sandhagen is coming off of a victory over Song Yadong in a UFC Fight Night main event where he was able to showcase his entire arsenal of mixed martial arts skills. We've always seen his stance changes, angle shifts, and dynamic and creative striking combinations, switching stances to overload the opponent's brain, making them feel like they're in a mirror house full of violence. Sandhagen is creative, and he's probably one of the most well-rounded strikers that the UFC has ever seen, and especially in the 135-pound bantamweight division. But Marlon Vera is no joke. Vera is a mixed martial arts veteran, a UFC veteran, and somebody who seems like they have just recently burst onto the scene. The first big victory in his career came by derailing the hype train known as the Sugar Show. He was able to defeat Sugar Sean O'Malley via TKO in a bout where many people believed the Sugar Show was going to run the train right over Vera and continue trucking along. But the low kicks to the peroneal nerve and the follow-up hammer fists on the ground were able to put a stop to the hype train for the foreseeable future. Now, Sugar Sean O'Malley has continued on in his career, even getting a win over the likes of the former bantamweight champion in Petr Yan in a massive upset at UFC 280. But Marlon Vera has quietly become one of the most dangerous fighters in this bantamweight division. He's not a guy who's going to win off of volume and overwhelming you and drowning you under pressure and constant combinations. That comes in the form of his opponent in Cory Sandhagen. But Vera is going to pick his shots. He's going to use that high guard and walk you down and pressure you into making mistakes. And whenever you do make mistakes, he will be there with counters, whether it's left hooks, straight rights or lefts depending on the stance, or brutal head kick and body kick combinations. Same side punch kick combos, side kicks to the jaw, spinning wheel kicks, flying knees, you name it, Cheeto has it in his game of chess. And he's going to unload it this weekend on the Sandman. But it's going to be hard to track down a fighter who's as elusive as Sandhagen. He's constantly changing stances and changing angles, using same side punch kick combinations like we discussed in the form of Cheeto Vera, except with Sandhagen, he's switching his feet. So he might go double jab, straight left hand, switch orthodox to a right body kick like he showcased against Marlon Moraes. He might go a double jab in southpaw, a check right hook, a left body kick, step down into orthodox, a rear uppercut, a left hook, a switch back to southpaw, and a straight left hand. You're going to need to quote-unquote download the data and find the sliver of openings that Sandhagen uses with the hands-down elusive style. Similar to Dominic Cruz, but I feel like Sandhagen is a more elusive and sharpened up version of what Dominic Cruz was in his heyday as the bantamweight GOAT. And the best fighter for the job to download the data of an opponent and find opportunities to land big damaging shots and be the quote-unquote counter crusader for Sandhagen is Marlon Cheeto Vera. He's going to be stalking Sandhagen. He's going to be trying to cut off that lateral movement and back him up to the cage. And once he's on the cage, it's going to be violence personified. Elbows, knees, punches, kicks, and picking his shots to cause the maximum amount of damage in the shortest amount of time. We saw him showcase this in the fight with Rob Font and Dominic Cruz. Cheeto was losing almost every single round of either one of those fights until he wasn't. And in the form of Dominic Cruz, it came via dropping him with multiple left hooks on the counter, and then eventually setting up the left hook into the right high kick and knocking Dominic Cruz out cold. In a fight where he was most likely down 2-1 and was looking to lose that 4th round, in my opinion. And when we look at the fight against Rob Font, the New England Cartel member, that's another fight where he was losing on the volume, getting outstruck by over 100 strikes on the side of Font. But Vera had the bigger moments. The huge left hooks, the counter hooks off the lateral movement of Rob Font, the side kick to the jaw channeling his inner Shawn Michaels in the Heartbreak Kid with the Ecuadorian Wolverine in Cheeto Vera. And those bigger moments are what Cheeto Vera is going to need in order to beat a guy like Sandhagen, who's going to be moving all around the cage, who's going to be switching his stances, who's going to be squaring up Chito Vera's stance and leaving him open for big shots. The high guard style of defense that Vera employs is very good for blocking headshots, but it's better for blocking straight punches than it is for hooks. If you've heard the quote, "knock on the front door and come around the side" from Teddy Atlas, that's exactly what the high guard employs. You're going to be able to block the punches coming straight at you, but the hooks are going to be able to sneak around the guard. You're going to be able to use a form of guard manipulation against fighters who move this way, but they're also going to be able to find the openings in your defense, in your defensive irresponsibility, to land their counters, and that's what Chito Vera is excellent at. But the one thing you have to look at in terms of Vera is the fact that he leaves his body open for big shots. And with the kicking heavy style of Cory Sandhagen and the beautiful liver shot that he employs, the body work could be paramount and could be a key to success for Cory Sandhagen in the bout and lead to his victory. The one area that I think might get glossed over by many fans if you're a casual or a hardcore would be the fact that Chito Vera's jiu-jitsu is elite. Earlier in his UFC career, when he first came into the promotion, a lot of his victories came via the pathway of the submission execution. He has 16 finishes out of all of his victories, 8 wins by KO/TKO, but also 8 wins by sub. And due to the fact that we've seen Cory Sandhagen struggle with heavy grappling and give up his back when he tries to get up to his feet, or give up his back when he tries to land spinning techniques, there could be a pathway for Vera to climb onto Cory Sandhagen like a tree, lock him up in a body triangle, and strangle him like the now UFC Bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling did back at UFC 250. I feel like the submissions are very dangerous for Sandhagen in this fight, and although we've seen Sandhagen recently use his grappling more than we have seen in the past, he's not going to want to play around with the jiu-jitsu of Chito Vera, because he could be doing well until he's not, just like the striking on the feet, and could be caught, hurt, and strangled in the blink of an eye. If we're looking at the quote-unquote keys to victory for Vera and Sandhagen, for Vera it's going to be staying patient and finding the openings in the stance changes and angle shifts of Cory Sandhagen to land straight punches, left hooks off the lateral movement as Sandhagen circles towards the left hook of Vera, landing body kicks off the lateral movement like we saw him use against Rob Font, and same side hook body kicks a la Peter Yan, who used those very effectively against Sandhagen, or the kicks he used against Rob Font. And then it's also getting the back of Cory Sandhagen as he tries to throw spinning techniques, working your grappling and looking to take the back and lock up submissions. For Cory Sandhagen, it's going to be using every facet of his stand-up game in mixed martial arts. Left hooks to the body, most importantly the liver shot as Vera tries to guard up high, front kicks and round kicks to the body, and the inside and outside low kicks. It's going to be attacking the lower level of Marlon Vera's body and legs in order to slow him down and open up potential avenues for strikes to the head. Even striking to the body to get Vera to lower his level, which can set up the signature flying knee which Sandhagen landed on Frankie Edgar. I feel like it's going to be Cory Sandhagen's fight to win on the scorecards, but we could easily see Vera losing the rounds until he's able to find the shot, which hurts Cory Sandhagen, drops him, and causes the round to go to Vera. I feel like this is going to be one of the most technical fights in the UFC's bantamweight division, and Cory Sandhagen is going to be winning the fight until he's no longer winning the fight. And I feel like he will get dropped by Marlon Vera in the championship rounds, and Vera will eventually look to set up a submission. But either way, Vera versus Sandhagen is one of the best fights that the UFC could make at this point in time for the bantamweight division. And this is really going to be the battle for the crown. And not the crown of the 135-pound bantamweight championship, but the crown of who claims to be the king of violence in the bantamweight division.